To what degree do we think that technology has changed the CMO role, for good or for bad?
I think it's added an awful lot more to it. Yeah, I mean, it's having come from the technology industry, it was easy to adopt, CRM, marketing automation. You mentioned Eloqua in our earlier conversations. All these, it was just, all your search engine optimization, your Google, all that stuff is just like, yeah, it's naturally of interest. And so, from a technology industry perspective, as a marketer, CMO, it's easy. It was just more of the same thing. I think it's, but for a traditional CMO that hasn't been on that background, it's been adding a huge amount to the, to the menu of things that you have to understand and be responsible for. And I think when you look at, when you look at a job description, the amount of things in there is just, it's huge, because it affects sales, it affects brand, it affects customers, and then there's all the technology, and you've got to understand all that as well. So it's increased it. You have to be a unicorn CMO, I think is one of those terms that goes around. So
we need to be unicorns and chameleons, by the sound of things. Abi, the fundamentals have changed a bit, but arguably I think the fundamental role of marketing hasn't changed since any of us studied it however many moons ago. What's your view as to how technology has
I see
to it?
Kind of technology as just either helping us operationally or just adding a new channel for us to play with, are kind of the two ways that I look at it. Where we're adding new channels, it's fantastic, it's giving us new routes to market. We just have to understand how they're being used. I remember when mobile first came out and everyone was like, oh, we need a mobile website. Some of the first mobile websites that came out were truly horrendous. And I think people were thinking more about it as a piece of tech, as opposed to how's it being used by a consumer. Well, we probably need a slightly different message, it's got to be snappier, where are they going to be consuming it? And I think as long as CMOs and their teams keep mindful of the fact, well, how is this tech helping me? Who's going to be using the tech? And internally, who do I need to collaborate with now? Because they always touch different departments. I think it should be a useful thing. Can be a distraction, I would say, is my ending point on that. Too much tech can be very distracting.
Chris, do you see technology as a potential distraction for the CMO?
Well, it's hard to believe, but I'm old enough to remember the world of marketing before there was even email or the World Wide Web. Would I go back to those days of the late 80s and early 90s? Well, no, I wouldn't. I think actually the technology has created a vast number of new opportunities for us. For example, if I want to collaborate with colleagues around the world, if I want to put out a new message into the market, then we can actually undertake that almost instantaneously, and I think that's a great advantage for marketers compared to where we were back in the dark ages. That said, I think we also need to be careful not to just chase the new shiny. How many people try to set up environments? What was it, Second Life? Which was a dead end to say the least. So I think we also need to keep calm and not just go chasing after the latest hair in the field as well. But yeah, these things, they settle down, they become the new normal, and I think we learn and adapt. That's the beauty of marketing. We're flexible and adaptive, and it's an exciting place to be.
It certainly is. Steve, what's your view?
So we touched upon accountability. Yes. And I think, digital introduces the promise of some very attractive things. So if you're adopting, automation, or you're adopting some of the things I mentioned previously, you have to keep that accountability, and that means when you're stood in front of your stakeholders, securing investment, that can be sometimes quite sizable, you've got to make sure that that is a real world investment that's going to bring you value and your customers value here and now. So technology advancements, we all try to sell our strong value propositions, and so do the digital companies. And sometimes those value propositions can be much harder to realise than the value that's being articulated in the proposition. And if you've just secured that investment with the board, you've got to be able to, as a CMO, make sure you can deliver as being accountable the return that's expected on that digital investment.